So you know how they said that Russia invaded Ukraine unprovoked, which was a lie. If you watch the show, you know it's been provoked for over a decade.
On purpose.
On purpose. This is exactly what NATO and the United States and the economic hitmen at BlackRock wanted. They wanted Russia to invade. That they've wanted this war all along. And if you followed our coverage, you know that's true. That's why the CIA overthrew the democratically elected government of Ukraine in 2014 in the Maidan coup. So Richard tweets out, at the time we are told the conflict in Ukraine is unprovoked, but then I watched this video whereby Canada's former Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland is openly praising the foundation of George Soros, boasting about its activities across Eastern Europe since the 1980s and its success in brainwashing Ukrainians. Wait, what? Let's listen.
Was that George civil society in action? You've been working on helping to build civil society, trying to build it, often frustrated in the former Soviet Union, in the Soviet Union. I know you started, I first met you in Ukraine in 1990 when you began those efforts. There were many years, I think, when it seemed it was all useless. Does it say something to you, teach you something about open society, civil society building?
Well, yes, because basically, in many ways, I set up the foundation in Ukraine in 1990. Which was 2 years before the independence of Ukraine. That was it was an offshoot of the foundation in Russia. You know, I set up a Cultural Initiative Foundation in the Soviet Union in 1987, and then we built this branch in Ukraine in 1990, the foundation, one of the things that the foundation did, gave a lot of scholarships and supported civil society. And the maturity of civil society 25 years later is, to a large extent, the work of the foundation.
Yeah, and I will just offer my own personal testimony here. It's actually amazing in Ukraine, the new Ukrainian government, the new Ukrainian leadership. Everyone who I know in that group has been touched somehow by open society and by, like, literally, either people personally got a scholarship or someone, you know, their wife got a scholarship. It's a really remarkable thing. Well,
this was, for me, quite an experience to see this, and I didn't realize, actually, how big an effect it has had over a 25-year period, because those were students. 25 years later, they were leaders.
So, George, the way you describe Ukraine, and you know that's where my own sympathies...
So just so you know, George Soros, billionaire George Soros, has been doing what USAID, the CIA, what they normally do. He's been doing it inside Ukraine, brainwashing those people to want to secede and want to go to war with Russia. And now everybody in leadership in Ukraine, as they say, has gotten some money from George Soros. They've all been influenced by George Soros.
Lie also is incredibly... So, George, the way you describe Ukraine, and you know that's where my own sympathies lie also, is incredibly appealing. It maybe is another one of these fantastical objects. But not all Europeans agree with us. The leader of your own homeland, Hungary, has described Putin as a model, as a role model. We have political leaders across Europe. We have the Greeks right now making trips to Moscow. We have in France, Marine Le Pen having close contacts with Putin. How do you explain this influence, this appeal that Putin has in Europe?
Yeah. Well,
because they realize that Russia isn't their enemy and that this is an economic war started by NATO and the West, because they realize that. That's why.
I think I can take a historical perspective, because I was very much involved in the collapse of the Soviet system. That was my debut as what I call myself a political philanthropist.
Go ahead, Kurt.
A political philanthropist? Is that what he just said?
That's what he just said.
So he donates his politics to the world.
Yes.
Wow. Thank you, George.
And that's why a handful of billionaires run the world. And now his right-hand man is Donald Trump's secretary of the Treasury. Just so you know. It's a big club. You ain't in it. So Michael Cullum says Freeland is also the granddaughter of a literal Nazi propagandist, and she herself openly supports the neo-Nazi Banderite faction in Ukraine. Krista Freeland's granddad was indeed a Nazi collaborator, so much for Russian disinformation. That's from the Ottawa Citizen in Canada.
That was after Yaroslav Hunka was given a standing ovation in the Canada House of Commons.
That's, if you remember the story that Kurt's referencing, they brought a legit Nazi from World War II into the parliament in Canada, and they gave him a standing ovation. And then when it was revealed that they were giving a standing ovation to a legit Nazi from World War II, Justin Trudeau blamed it on Russian disinformation. No kidding, you can't make it up. Deputy Prime Minister Krista Freeland photographed marching with neo-Nazis holding up a Banderite scarf. There she is. The red and black bicolor was first used as the flag of the World War II area organization of Ukrainian nationalists and its paramilitary wing, the Ukrainian Insurgent Army, which were led by a man named Stepan Bandera. The OUN, they were fascist partisans that pursued an independent Ukrainian ethno-state purged of Russians, Poles, Jews, and other ethnicities. Bandera was a Nazi collaborator who led the most extremist and violent faction of the OUN, usually called the OUNB, to distinguish it from a different rival faction. During Nazi Germany's invasion and occupation of Ukrainian territory, the collaborationists carried out a number of massacres and atrocities, especially against the ethnic minorities like Jews and Poles. So they're backing legit Nazis who killed a bunch of Jews and Poles so they could get back at Russia. So that's who you're in bed with in Ukraine, is legit Nazis. We've told you this a million times. Slava Ukraine, which translates to glory to Ukraine, has become a somewhat fashionable way for Westerners to signify their own support for Ukraine against Russia. However, this slogan originated with the OUN as their equivalent of the German Nazis' Heil Hitler. And OUN members were instructed to exclaim the phrase while raising their right arm in the fascist salute. It is still done in this matter among Ukraine's far-right ultranationalist groups today. So they say Slava. When you're saying Slava Ukraine, it's the equivalent of saying Heil Hitler.
I mean, it sounds dumb as shit anyway. It sounds like you're saying slobber Ukraine. Slobber, is that what you're saying?
Slava. So there it is. That's there's George Soros bragging that he's been the guy pushing and backing these Nazis and influencing and brainwashing the people of Ukraine. So now all the leaders of the Ukrainian government have now been taken money and brainwashed by George Soros. Congratulations. Congratulations. Okay, that's it for me for today. Steph has some more Rumble rants to read for you. Please become a premium member if you're not. And it's a great way to help support the show. Ooh. Become a member, subscribe to the channel, do all those things that people tell you to do that I always forget to tell people to do. Smash the like button. You know, when people say that, smash it. You got to smash it. How about if I just
lightly caress it?
How about if I just give it a little clicky?
Treat it like it's a detainee and you're some IDF pervert. Just a little bit of a... All right, I got to go, guys. Bye.
Bye, buddy.
Okay, bye. Okay, over to stuff.
Oh, okay, we're back. I was petting my dog. All right, that's not a euphemism. I got some chia seeds recently, but I haven't noticed any stones. Okay. All right, let's do this. I got to send this to my lady. I don't disagree with her being reprimanded for releasing the video evidence of the grape. That can now bias the prosecution's case, almost as if that may have been her intent. G. Fontes. Balfour Declaration, which established Israel, was the payoff from England to the Eastern European Zionists for getting the U.S. into World War II. You are correct. Tell Jimmy SDE is pronounced like stay. Did I miss the Spencer Pratt question? I think he could advocate for all victims of disasters. He's making Newsom sweat. Just want world peace. Thank you. P.W. Walker, you look like my last guy today. At the announcement by the government of Canada, which allows the seizure of trucker bank accounts, Freeland prefaced that news with a gleeful announcement of Canada gave Ukraine millions in aid. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for today. We'll be back on Wednesday. And you know what? Go do something nice for somebody. It's rough out there. Adios.